What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got something special for you. So a while back, me and my friend Zach got to interview this guy, BJ McDonnell. He has worked on some amazing movies. He's been a camera operator on movies such as Ant-Man, Death Race, American Horror Story, Annabelle Creation, Shazam. He's even directed some of the Slayer music videos. I mean, like, huge things. This guy has been in the industry for a while. He's done camera work, he's done Steadicam work, he's directed, he's done grips. He's pretty much done it all. And we had the pleasure to sit down and talk to him. So for all you guys that really want to get into this industry, this is some serious good knowledge. I suggest you watch the whole thing, dissect it, take notes. These kinds of opportunities don't come around very often, so we wanted to grab as much knowledge from him as we could. So I suggest you stick around, watch it, let me know in the comments below, you know, what did you learn from it, all that good stuff. If you're new here, go ahead and click that subscribe button, all that good stuff. I'm gonna shut up now though and just get to the interview. Yeah.
You've actually been studying, I'm looking here at IMDb, and according to this, you've been studying for quite some time.
Yeah, since 2003.
Jeez.
I think is where I started, basically, right around there. I was a grip before that, though. I got this business as a grip. And then worked with a lot of camera operators as their dolly grip, pushing dolly. Got really interested in operating, and that's kind of where I went from there. And then decided to take that path. So that's how I got going. Good old grips.
That's crazy. That's an interesting transition, because I'm not sure I've heard of too many grips who make a transition, maybe as like, you know, a camera op, but into the steady realm. That's a whole. Like, I mean, you're in the body system. I mean, you're working on your hips, your back. I mean, every part of your body is kind of operating. We have a buddy here, Nick James, that's a steady operator here, and he's kind of even gone over some of the details of it, and it sounds like a full body workout, like nonstop.
It's definitely a workout, you know. But I also came from being like, I worked as a dolly grip also, which kind of there's actually a few dolly grips that have gone to the camera operator route. It's just kind of natural because you're working with the operators, you know, collaborating how to frame the shots, where you're helping to actually keep the shot composed, right? So you finally get a key idea of composing shots and making movement, you know, like working with camera movement to tell a story. It's just that's kind of a natural progression, I think, you know, as a dolly grip. And I think the dolly grip's a great camera operator. Not speaking for myself, but, you know, Mark Myers, he's a camera operator. He was a dolly grip. You know, there's a couple other guys out there that were grips, dolly grips.
So if you want to get started in that realm, you go the dolly grip route.
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like.
The grip department was a fantastic way of not only, like, as a dolly grip, learning, you know, the camera angles and doing camera movement, but also learning set etiquette, which is, as you guys know, really important to know when you're working on sets. Like, instead of just jumping in there and being like trying to do, you know, coming out of the film school and being like, I'm a camera operator. Well, no, you need to know, like, how things really work, how other departments work. You know, what takes time, what takes less time. You know, it's all that learning process. I think it's good I think gripping is a great way to get into that. For me, it was, because I learned a lot. You know, just being on set was great.
So you've got a lot of new movies coming out. The one that specifically people will probably know coming out is like Shazam, and you worked on Annabelle Creation and stuff like that. I know David uses you a lot. Is there some other, like you said, like certain DPs and people that kind of pull you in more, that you're really, because we've kind of figured out over the years, knowledge, yes, is a big thing, and being able to film something is a big thing, but relationships are something that is just so crucial in this industry. Was that just something, the same thing you built over time? Was there certain people that stood out to you that you were drawn to, you know?
Yeah, that's the one key thing I think I can say, is that this is a business of not only skill, but also it's a relationship base. It's who you know and how well you get along with people and how you mesh with people. And that's a big part in actually making, you know, working. Because no one wants to work with a bum on a log. You know, everybody wants to be able to work with someone that's actually enjoyable to work with on a daily basis. That's not a screamer. That's not angry. That's not, you know, you have to be enjoyable to work with. And I think that goes a long way, as well as your skills and what you can bring to the table for, you know, the shoot itself. Yeah, when it comes down to it, there are certain guys that I also love to work with. You know, like the DPs that I like to work with, like Brandon Trost is like one of my best buddies. He's a DP and he's great. Done a bunch of movies with him. Caleb Deschanel, you know, he's been around a long time. Shot The Right Stuff and Black Stallion. You know, we've done a bunch of movies together, and I met him on a Billy Friedkin movie called Killer Joe, which was crazy working with him because, you know, the director of The Exorcist, and
Yeah.
it was a crazy experience, like doing that movie. It was a blast, and that was the first time I ever worked with Caleb, so it was just like, you know, I was on my toes on that, trying to make sure I impressed him, and it was a great relationship towards the end. I've been with him, you know, through most of all the rest of the shoots that he's been doing. You know, it's been awesome. But he just did The Lion King, which is coming out, and
Wow.
he operated and did all that stuff. It's like just like Jungle Book, but it's amazing what they did. I went out on one day and operated on a one-day thing on it, but like what they do with that technology is completely insane.
Now, just switch gears a little bit here. I know I've been watching you, I mean, for quite a while, and so you did the Hatchet. You did you do one of the Hatchet movies, or did you do two?
I was the operator on both Hatchet 1 and 2, and I directed part 3.
Right. So how was that transitioning from, I mean, operating and then into directing? I mean, that seems like a pretty big jump.
I think for me, it was more of a natural thing for me because, like I said before, like when we were talking earlier, that you know, as a young kid, I used to direct and like make our own home movies.
Yeah.
So there's always that one of directing things, and then also when you're on sets, even as a camera operator, you're talking to the cast. You know, half the time you're telling them what they're going to be doing because there's so much going on set that you know, the director might be busy. They walk up and go, "Hey, BJ, what are we doing? Oh, you're going to go from here to here. Here's your marks," you know. And it's not, you know, I'm more talking to them technically for camera at that point, but still you get comfortable with the actors and you can actually, you know, converse with them. So I've been doing that for a while, so it was actually easy for me with that whole thing. So it was not a hard progression to get through that. It was definitely a big learning experience with like the outside things that I don't deal with, like with post-production. You know, I learned all sorts of stuff about editing when it was all done and I was in an editing booth, and I figured out ways that as a camera operator, I didn't know that you could do specific things in editing to fix certain problems that I now know. You know, so now if I see something that didn't work as a camera operator, I'm like, well, they can always loop that dialogue on a different take because you can barely see their lips, yada yada.
Yeah.
Where I was never like, you know, that stuff didn't ever cross my mind when I'm there on set. You know, like you just learn. It's just a difference of things that you learn that way. You know, and then dealing with performances with the actors. You know, that I had to get into that mode and get out of like the technical camera framing. This is the shot that I want. No, wait, I gotta actually concentrate on the story. And luckily for Hatchet 3, the story is so stupid anyways that it's like, you know, we can get away with just being dumb. You know, be horrible. And my whole take on that was when we did it, like, yeah, we gotta stay with the same, you know, field that was set up on the first two. Keep it kind of campy, keep it B-horror, keep it like that. But in mind, let's make this actually look like a movie. You know, let's actually try to make this look better than the other ones. Just try to like expand what you can see because, you know, there was a lot of limitations on the first and second one where on mine we actually went into the suck. We went into the swamps. You know, people were miserable and it was horrible to like shoot there. But, you know, you can actually see it's not some, you know, place in Southern California that we just threw moss in the trees and there's mountains. You know, the mountains are dead. Get away. You're not in the swamp. You know, you watch that Hatchet 1 and 2, and Hatchet 1 is just all up at Sable Ranch out in the desert. Hatchet 2 is all inside the soundstage with all these plants that basically started giving everybody infection with fungus and spores, and I think we all got the bird flu.
Oh my
Wow.
God. So people that were supposed to look like they were sick were genuinely sick on the film.
Yeah, well, but the rough part is people that weren't supposed to be sick were actually holding that in. To not show that they were completely sick. And in between takes, they'd call cut, he'll be running to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
But that was from the plants that they brought in?
Well, the plants were making people sick just because of having these plants locked on a stage, and they're plants. But it was a grip that brought in that came in sick. And look, the Hatchet movies didn't have a big budget, and so the guys who were coming in, they were just kind of starting out for the most part, and they needed to make money. You wanted to pay the rent. Well, this guy came in, he didn't pay his rent. We all get it, we all understand. But when you're coming in that sick, he infected the whole crew.
Oh,
and it was just when he started dropping on that one. It was terrible. I didn't get it. I kept doing sanitizer. I was wearing a face mask, and even my AC, like, there was a moment where he was right next to me, and I saw the look in his eyes, and I was like, oh, it's about to happen, isn't it? He's like, oh. Took off, never saw him again. He went home, and that was it. Never came back to the shoot.
Dang.
How long was the shoot for that where you guys were sick?
That one, Hatchet 2, I think we shot for, it was a super short shoot. I want to say barely 3 weeks. It was quick.
You kind of lucked out that it wasn't a real long one. It doesn't make it any easier, but that's like when we were in Seattle shooting that commercial. I don't remember who was sick. One of the guys was sick on our set, and then by time we were done, and we were only there like 5 days. By the time we were flying back, everyone just looked not super well, and we're like, yeah, right. When you're just around those people, it's really hard to you're handing gear back and forth. It turns what you love doing into, oh dear God, when is this day gonna end kind of thing. Yeah.
You just want to get out of there. It's over.
Yeah.
So you went to film school. You got into this business. So just for the guys out there that are curious about gear, like you own your own steady rig, and I've seen it, and it's a beast. What technical stuff do you run on a daily basis?
Yeah, the rig that I fly is a company called GPI. It's a pro rig.
Uh-huh.
It's basically, Cinema Products made the Steadicam with Garrett Brown, the inventor of it all. And then there's George Paddock had his own company called Pro. So I guess Cinema Products was, when they were around, people were having issues with, like, if something broke, getting it fixed on time and getting back out there and working. So George Paddock made the Pro Series sleds. And so I learned that was the rig to go through by all the other operators when I was at Jolly Grip, how to do it, and to not go with certain other brands, but go with Pro because they were highly reliable. And so that's the rig that I fly still to this day. I had a Pro 1 and all of it's up to a Pro 3, now Cine Live or whatever, but they go through different stages. But basically it's the same tool, and the company, the customer service is still fantastic. So yeah, it's a Pro rig, Pro arm. The vest is made by Pro. The arm that the Steadicam goes onto, Pro. The sled's a Pro, and you just use whatever camera you're using on set. Whatever they're using, like the Arri cameras or Red cameras. That's what's happening now, because you used to just in the film days you had Panavision, you had Arri, and now it's just like it seems like everything you go on is just all right. There's a Alexa, an Arri Mini, or a Red. I don't even know what the Reds are up to now. It's all whatever. They have a new camera coming out like laptops every year, so I don't even know. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm laughing because your Amazon thing went off when you talked about that camera.
I actually have an Alexa. So when you said it, she chimed in.
It lined it up. Yeah.
Cancel. So you got, just out of curiosity, if you were to say, hey, you were to get into a new rig, to run a Red. What is like the cost? I guess would be the biggest thing.
Well, to get your Steadicam stuff, just the Steadicam gear alone, because you don't get the camera, you don't buy the camera and you don't buy the Steadicam rigs, because the camera is always going to be there. So that would be a ridiculous cost. But the sleds nowadays, just the sled, the arm, the vest, and that's not like with a Preston follow focus. That's like, that's all separate. That you got to get that stuff. That's not with the Paralinx transmitters or the HD transmitter receivers for Video Village. All this stuff. The cables are like $200 a piece just for one little cable. You got to get a bunch of different cables for different things.
Jeez.
I don't know what my setup costs. I put a lot of money into the setup. But like a starter rig would cost you close to between $40,000 to $50,000, and that's a low end used rig.
Really?
It goes up and up from there. Yeah.
Wow.
It gets expensive. I don't know what I'm into now. I'm deep. So
goodness.
And instead of getting a loan, yes, it's going to take longer, but when it's all said and done, you have everything all put together. You'll probably come in because you bought all the used stuff cheaper, and you're not going to have, if the sled's not working, you're not freaking out trying to make that loan payment on top of rent, on top of things like that. So that's what I did. I worked, and then I'd go on the Steadicam forum, which is the forum, they have a used section on there, and I would buy like, all right, I finally got this chunk of cash, I'm going to buy a battery cage, or I got this chunk of cash, I'm going to buy the gimbal, or this center post, or the donkey box. You learn how to buy it piece by piece. It took me 2 years. 2 years to get my first sled. I just bought it.
That was going to be my question: is how long did it take you over the period of time to kind of accumulate that gear? And specifically, like I know you said, like with the forum and stuff. Like when we worked on Battleship, at the end of the show, there'd be a whole bunch of assets and stuff that they were selling off. Did you pick up a lot of your equipment used from shows, or that's maybe equipment that's not really getting sold off because they're not really buying it for they're not really buying it for one movie,
It's not stuff that's being sold from a movie, he says. Usually they sold their operator who's maybe upgrading to something else, or they're getting out of the business, something like that. And the Steadicam gear, that's how you get that on forum. It's not like from Otto Nimmons or something like that, or from like some real place. It's usually from another operator who's selling stuff, which was frustrating at times because you'd be like, I need this one piece, but I keep checking the forum and no one's selling that one piece of gear, and just every day you're looking. And then I remember moments where I'd just every day be looking for like one specific piece of gear, and then finally like after 2 weeks, like there it is, and I'd be like, oh God, how much you want to sell it for? Oh, I want it, sell it to me. That whole rig that I created after about, I forgot how long I had it, a couple of years, but it got completely destroyed. It fell off a cliff, and so like after like all that time of like building a sled, I was doing a movie where I met my wife actually in Arizona, and we're on top of this like plateau thing. We got a crane, and everybody was stuffed up on this like cliff plateau like platform thing. It's in the middle of the woods in Prescott, Arizona. And I remember looking at the monitor, being on the wheels of the crane and watching the shot, and I hear this horrible crash. And I just remember looking over at my AC, who was sitting there next to me pulling focus, and his jaw was to the ground. And I looked at him and I said, that was my Steadicam rig, wasn't it? And he just looked like this. Like,
so you essentially traded your Steadicam rig for your wife, meeting her, right? So.
Well, yeah, I met her there, and that was fantastic, and that was something. Yeah, that was also many years of working on getting that all together.
Sure.
It was a good challenge.
You don't know which one you'd pick going back. You're like, I really wish I wouldn't have worked that movie because I would have lost. I wouldn't have lost it, but I also maybe wouldn't have met my wife.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everything turned out to be absolutely 100%. Luckily, insurance paid for a whole new sled, and again, going back to customer service of the pro company of GPI.
Yeah.
The day I was in Arizona shooting this movie out of town, and the next day, Pro had overnighted me a whole loaner sled so I could keep shooting the movie while they were building me the insurance sled, my next sled, that had to be created. So, win-win.
Was there one specifically time that it stood out when you got the job, or you were walked on set and you're like, holy shit, that is this person, or you just felt like I freaking made it?
I think for me, Jack Reacher, I think, is one of those moments where actually, I worked on War of the Worlds, but I was on that, and so Tom Cruise, I never really interacted with him. He actually said, hey, what's your name? He was very nice, like, oh, I'm BJ, one of the grips for the day. Oh, nice to meet you, man. And I was already operating, but my buddies, like I was a grip and a Steadicam operator at the time. We were doing War of the Worlds, and all my friends were like, we know you love making movies. We know you love old Spielberg. We're doing a Spielberg movie. Do you want to come in and grip? We know you don't want to grip anymore, but you want to come in. I was like, oh, yeah, I want to come in because I don't know if I'll ever work with Spielberg. So I got to go in. That was a crazy experience, but then going way down the line to Jack Reacher, where now I'm the camera operator, now I get to work directly with Tom Cruise. I think that might have been the defining moment of being like, all right, like this is kind of cool. Like I never thought I'd actually see my career to a point like this where I'm actually shooting a Tom Cruise movie. And that was with Caleb Deschanel with DP. I talked about that I like to work with, bringing me back since we did Killer Joe, and it's those kind of moments. Everything just kind of came in together and it was awesome. We had Werner Herzog was in it as a bad guy, and it was a great experience. So I think that might have been the moment.
I would have gladly been the coffee boy to work with Steven, or even on a movie Steven Spielberg was doing. Like I could see how it's just like, all right, yeah, those people are there. All right, you got me.
As I was listening to you, I remembered you did the Slayer videos recently.
Yep.
Do you direct those and operate, or just direct?
No, those ones actually, I did do the Steadicam on them because we didn't have a big budget. So all the money that we put into everything was like, I could not afford to call a buddy up and say, hey, you want to come in and do some Steadicam? So it's like, all right, I have the rig. So these couple shots that we're going to need on the Steadicam, I'll just do them. So I just brought the rig and did that. It's not a lot of Steadicam in those things anyway. It's just like very minute. I don't even think each one of them has a Steadicam shot here or there, but it's like I specifically tried to make it so I didn't have to do that because I just wanted to concentrate on like the storyline,
right?
And like when the band's there, I deal with them and concentrate on what they need, and like the actors when we're doing the storyline stuff, I wanted to be able to have time with them and talk to them along with putting together the stunts. But on the Slayer videos, I wrote and directed those, so I wrote those and then put them together.
Yeah, no, they turned out phenomenal. I mean, I remember watching the first one. And then I remember seeing the second one, and I saw a third. I'm like, what is this? Like, and you're a huge Slayer fan. I'm
a big Slayer fan, big metal fan. Always have been.
Yeah. So when you got the gig, was it a huge thing for you?
It was. I was completely nervous, to tell you the truth. I'm not gonna lie, because they're part of the Big Four, and I never had met them. Never met them. I had a meeting with the record label. I wrote the pitch for Pinless, sent that out. And I was like, they're not going to pick my pitch. They've already interviewed a bunch of people. They're not going to pick it. And then the record label calls Gerardo over Nuclear Blast and was like, dude, they loved your pitch. They want to do it. I was like, awesome. Now I got to figure out how to put all this together. Do it because I wrote it in relation to like the things I knew I could probably bring together, like the people and just what we could do. But just getting that job was kind of like I had some butterflies in my stomach. It was quite a nervous moment for me. But the day that they showed up on set was just like, oh man, there's Kerry King. That's I don't even know what to say to him. I'm gonna walk up to him and here we go. And it's just hoping that like the whole motto of don't meet your heroes, because you're usually gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
Completely not like that with Slayer. Those guys have been like the nicest, most genuine, fantastic. I couldn't ask for better guys to work around or work with or collaborate with. Every time I see them, they're welcomed with open arms. They're just like the best guys, And so the experience turned out to be phenomenal. I've worked with other bands that like I was hoping were going to be awesome, and they turned out to just bum me out. And it's like I was kind of coming into that going, oh god, I hope Slayer's cool. I really hope they're cool. And they're like the coolest. They're the best. So
that's fantastic.
They're all about just making these videos and just whatever, man. Let's make it cool.
So it's kind of round trip us back here a little bit. Working with David Sandberg. How is it like working with David? I mean, he comes from a small community and he's working his way kind of up, it looks like. Does he come from a different place than a lot of the directors that you've worked with that have had the big budget? Yeah. Like, does he come from a different place?
I think David, because he comes from the short films and things like that, like he's been thrown into this world very quickly. Which is great for him to be able to concentrate more on performance with the actors. I gotta tell you, David's better with. I've never seen a director work with kids like him. He's phenomenal with children.
Yeah.
Like him direct the kids, which I think that's another reason why he was perfect for Shazam. Because Shazam is really a kids film. It's a kids film, and he was a perfect choice for that because just watching how he would work with the kids on Annabelle was just like, man, okay, like that's fantastic. The way he talks to them. Gets them actually to get the performances. He shakes them up, scares them up, a little bit.
Yeah.
Does his thing, and he's good with that. Where it's also nice and refreshing, where he does that, but he tells us what he wants. He knows what he wants, and so he'll let me and the DP, Maxine, like, this is what I want to do. How do we do it? Okay. Me and Maxine will talk. We'll figure the shots out, and we do it. And then in the end, like, go get his performance. We'll do the shots, and we'll go, oh, that was awesome. And it's not like, oh, here's this new person. I hope they're not sensitive, and I gotta figure out their personalities. And that's a big deal with this whole thing. Once you find people you like, you stick with them.
Yeah, see, that's kind of been like it with us. Anytime we've shot stuff, someone was even asking me that the other day on the internet, what has been my biggest weakness? And I said it was honestly learning to trust the team. You know, like if I was DPing and he was directing, let me DP and, you know, have him direct, because you have to trust your team. And it's taken us time to find guys that we really jive with, but I feel like it's the same thing. Once you find guys you trust, you can kind of step back and just do what you're supposed to be doing, and it's just going to look better in the long run, you know.
Yeah.
For people, younger guys that are, you know, wanting to get into this field, we get asked all the time, but, you know, clearly we love hearing everyone's take is different. What would be your advice to someone that's wanting to get in, whether it's DP, direct, Steadicam, anything like that? You know, what would be your advice to someone like that?
I think my advice, and this is just me coming up from I went to film school. You know, I went to Los Angeles City College because that's all I could afford. I couldn't afford USC, couldn't afford AFI. I probably couldn't have gotten an AFI anyways. When I first got here, I didn't have anything to show for it. But that alone, Los Angeles City College was $11 a unit, and I was like, okay, I can do that. I can go to film school. Well, truthfully, film school might be great if you're just strictly going to be a director, or you want to be a producer, or something like that. But if you're going to go into filmmaking, you're going to want to be a DP, or you want to be a, you know, camera operator, grip, props, anything. There's no better experience than being on the set, as you guys probably know. It's the hands-on experience, and that's invaluable because, look, you can do all this stuff in film school. You get a book, and it's like, oh, there's a picture of a C-stand. What does that do? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm on a film set. Oh, this is a C-stand. Oh, that's what the C-stand does. You know, not only that, but if you have the amount of money to spend for film school and you want to be a filmmaker, my advice, which I wish I would have done, is take that money and go make a short film. Take that money and make a short film and go get a job on a set and work your way up. That way, at least you're already kind of going towards the goals that you had. You're not wasting the time going to film school. I'm not trying to say film school don't go.
Right.
You know, some people would love to go to film school, and film schools work out for a lot of people. But my experience, I wish I would have taken the money now, because my degree doesn't do anything for me. Oh, here's my cinema degree. Am I gonna ever get another job from that? Oh, I don't even know where it is. It's probably, I couldn't tell you where my degree is. But I wish I would have taken that money, made a short film, and got my career kind of started a lot sooner than just putting it towards schooling that actually didn't do anything for me. It was all about the on-set experience and the bonds and the friendships and the people that I met that actually are the people that are going to bring you to the next job and who are going to boost your career. And if you believe in you, they're actually going to take you. And honestly, if you work hard, you know, don't slack around. You got to have a heart for it. You got to have a heart for wanting to create stories. You have to not only have it as a job, but you want to be able to make that this project is yours. This is something that you're creating. You've got to put your heart and everything into it.
I could definitely agree with you on that. That I would say being on set is the best place to learn. Even just being a production assistant, getting out there and learning, just keeping your eyes open. Well, we know you got to get going. I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule to even sit down and talk with us. That was fantastic, and I think a lot of our viewers will gain some insight on some things in the industry, but then again, be able to hear some really cool stories from you about some of the sets you've been on. So
yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like it's a pleasure. So yeah, let's do it again.
All right,
definitely.
man.
Thank you so
Perfect.
much, man.
Thank you, buddy.